flickered in the distance as Yoongi, the notorious Mafia king, stepped into the dimly lit cafe, his aura commanding attention. His piercing gaze surveyed the surroundings as he walked in with his trusted assistant, J-Hope, following closely behind. The air seemed to thicken with an unspoken tension as patrons exchanged nervous glances. Jimin, a vivacious and captivating waiter, felt the intensity of Yoongi's presence the moment their eyes met. "Welcome to Sunset Brews. What can I get you gentlemen today?" Jimin greeted them with a charming smile, his eyes never leaving Yoongi's. Americano. Black, Yoongi's voice was low, his words curt and commanding. J-Hope ordered a cappuccino, and as Jimin scribbled down their requests, Yoongi's eyes lingered on him. Jimin couldn't help but notice the dangerous yet captivating energy that surrounded Yoongi. His heart raced, but he maintained his composure. "Coming right up," Jimin replied, maintaining a pleasant smile even as his heart pounded in his chest. He swayed away, the gentle jingle of his apron announcing his departure. As Jimin prepared their drinks, the cafe's patrons exchanged glances, whispers of curiosity circulating in the air. It wasn't every day that the notorious Mafia king graced their modest establishment. Returning to the table with the steaming beverages, Jimin carefully placed the cups before Yoongi and J-Hope. "Here you go, gentlemen. Enjoy your drinks," he said, his eyes meeting Yoongi's once more. Yoongi's gaze lingered, an unspoken challenge in his eyes. "What's your name, cutie?" Jimin, undeterred by the dangerous aura surrounding the question, responded with a coy smile. "It's Jimin, sir." The corners of Yoongi's lips twitched upward, a subtle acknowledgement of the challenge accepted. "Jimin," he repeated, testing the name on his tongue. "Keep us company for a while." Jimin's pulse quickened at Yoongi's request, but he nodded with a confidence that masked the swirling emotions within. "Of course, sir. Anything for our valued customers. Is there anything else I can get for you?" Yoongi leaned back in his chair, his eyes never leaving Jimin's face. "Just your company, baby boy. Tell us about yourself." As Jimin shared snippets of his life, from his dreams to his favorite books, Yoongi absorbed the information with an unreadable expression. J-Hope interjected occasionally, injecting light humor into the conversation. The more Jimin spoke, the more he noticed Yoongi's penetrating gaze and the subtle quirks of his lips. It was as if the Mafia king was unraveling the layers of Jimin's personality with each word. "You're quite an interesting character, Jimin," Yoongi finally remarked, his tone low and contemplative. Jimin, feeling a mixture of nerves and excitement, replied, "Thank you, sir. It's not every day that I get to share my stories with someone like you." A hint of amusement danced in Yoongi's eyes. "And what makes you think I'm interested in your stories, Jimin?" A playful smirk played on Jimin's lips. "The way you're listening, sir, tells me you are." Yoongi chuckled, the sound low and resonant. "Observant, aren't you, Jimin?" Jimin leaned in slightly, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Well, it's not every day that a Mafia king graces our humble cafe. I can't help but be curious." Yoongi's lips curled into a half-smile. "Curiosity killed the cat, they say." Jimin shrugged, his grin widening. "But satisfaction brought it back, sir." J-Hope, sensing the banter between the two, chimed in with a playful tone. "Looks like we've got a witty one here, Yoongi." Yoongi's gaze never left Jimin's face. "Indeed. Jimin, I have a proposal for you." Jimin raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "A proposal, sir?" Yoongi nodded. "How about you leave this place, come work for me? I could use someone with your charm." Jimin's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Are you trying to recruit me into the Mafia, sir?" Yoongi smirked. "Consider it an offer you can't refuse." Jimin pretended to contemplate, tapping his chin theatrically. Tempting, but I'm afraid I'll have to decline. Sunset Brews is my domain." Yoongi's gaze intensified, the challenge lingering in the air. "Are you always this stubborn, Jimin?" Jimin leaned in, their faces inches apart. "Are you always this persistent, sir?" The tension between them was palpable, but before Yoongi could respond, Jimin pulled back with a playful wink. "I think I'll stick to serving coffee, sir. It's safer." Yoongi chuckled, a low rumble that sent shivers down Jimin's spine. We'll see about that. Time skip one day, as Yoongi strolled into the cafe, Jimin greeted him with a teasing smile. Back for more coffee, sir? You must really enjoy our brews. Yoongi smirked, his eyes glinting. You could say I've developed a taste for it, cutie. J-Hope, standing beside Yoongi, chimed in with a playful grin. He's addicted, Jimin. Your coffee is his daily fix. Jimin winked at Yoongi. Well, we aim to please, sir. I wouldn't want our best customer to go through withdrawal. As Yoongi took a sip of his black Americano, Jimin leaned against the counter with a sly grin. So, what's the secret behind your addiction, sir? Is it the rich aroma, the bold flavor, or the charming company? Yoongi's gaze lingered on Jimin, a mysterious glint in his eyes. Maybe it's a bit of everything, cutie. Your coffee does have a unique charm. J-Hope chuckled, nudging Yoongi. I told you Jimin is a coffee wizard. Jimin feigned modesty, his eyes sparkling with amusement. Oh, you flatter me, J-Hope. But I must admit it takes the right touch to brew the perfect cup. Yoongi's lips curled into a playful smirk. Speaking of the right touch, how about you show me how it's done? Let me in on the secrets of your coffee magic. Jimin picked up a spare apron, tossing it to Yoongi. Well, sir, it's not just about the apron, it's about the finesse. He gestured for Yoongi to join him behind the counter. As they stood side by side, Jimin guided Yoongi through the process of making an espresso. First, the right grind of coffee beans, Jimin explained, his hands demonstrating the motion. Then, the perfect tamping pressure. Yoongi, surprisingly focused, mimicked Jimin's actions. Like this? Jimin nodded with approval. Exactly. You catch on quick, sir. Maybe you have a future as a barista. Yoongi shot him a sly look. Or maybe I just have a good teacher. As they continued the coffee-making tutorial, the playful banter transformed into genuine conversation. Jimin learned more about Yoongi's tastes and preferences, discovering that beneath the composed exterior was a man with a surprisingly refined palate. Jimin handed over a cup of the jointly crafted espresso to Yoongi. There you go, sir, a masterpiece created by the notorious Mafia king himself. Yoongi took a sip, nodding appreciatively. Not bad, Jimin. Perhaps I'll consider a career change. Jimin chuckled. I think the Mafia suits you better, sir, but if you ever get tired of the underworld, you know where to find me. As Yoongi left the counter, J-Hope leaned in with a smirk. You've got him wrapped around your finger, Jimin. Jimin laughed. Or maybe it's the other way around, Hoseok. There's more to him than meets the eye. As the routine persisted, Yoongi's excuses for visiting became more creative. One day he pretended to be interested in the cafe's art, engaging Jimin in a discussion about the paintings on the walls. These paintings tell a story, Jimin. What do you think they're trying to say? Yoongi asked, his eyes scanning the abstract strokes. Jimin, holding a coffee pot, joined in the game. Maybe they're telling the tale of a charismatic waiter who stole the heart of a Mafia king. Yoongi chuckled, the tension in the air dissipating. Well, that would be quite the story. Another day, Yoongi approached the counter with a more serious demeanor. Jimin, I need your expertise. Jimin raised an eyebrow, intrigued. My expertise, sir? Yoongi nodded, leaning in conspiratorially. I need help choosing a gift. What do you think someone like me should get for a special someone? Jimin feigned innocence. A special someone? Is there a lucky person in your life? Yoongi's gaze met Jimin's, a glint of something genuine beneath the facade. Maybe there could be. Jimin's eyes widened playfully. A special someone in the life of the notorious Mafia king? Now, that's a plot twist. Yoongi smirked, a hint of vulnerability in his eyes. Even a Mafia king has his moments of weakness, Jimin. Jimin leaned in, lowering his voice conspiratorially. So, what's the lucky person like? We're talking about someone who deals with Mafia business but has a soft spot, right? Yoongi chuckled, his gaze softening. You could say that. Strong yet gentle. Someone who deserves more than the chaos of my world. Jimin tapped his chin thoughtfully. In that case, sir, I'd suggest something personal. Maybe a custom piece of
jewelry. Something that represents a shared secret or a special moment.
Yoongi raised an eyebrow. Jewelry, Jimin? Jimin nodded with a mischievous smile. Trust me, sir. Even Mafia kings can't resist the charm of a well-thought-out piece of jewelry. A thoughtful expression crossed Yoongi's face. You might be onto something, Jimin. As the days passed, the atmosphere between them became charged with a newfound tension, an unspoken acknowledgement of something deeper than their daily banter. One evening, as Yoongi sat at their usual table, he looked at Jimin with a contemplative gaze. Jimin, he began, his voice softer than usual. Tell me about your dreams, the ones you don't share with anyone. Jimin's eyes met Yoongi's, recognizing the sincerity in the request. Well, I dream of opening my own cafe, a place where people can find solace and warmth away from the harshness of the world. Yoongi nodded, a subtle understanding passing between them. I can relate, Jimin. In my line of work, creating havens becomes a necessity. Their eyes lingered, the unspoken connection growing stronger. Jimin, feeling a surge of courage, dared to ask, What about your dreams, sir? What do you long for? Yoongi's gaze softened. Peace, Jimin, a peace that transcends the chaos of my life, and maybe someone to share it with. Jimin's heart skipped a beat, the vulnerability in Yoongi's words echoing in the air. Well, sir, I hope you find that peace, and maybe that's someone. A subtle smile played on Yoongi's lips. Maybe, Jimin. The days turned into nights, and their encounters became more intimate. One evening, Yoongi walked Jimin to his apartment, the neon lights of the city casting a gentle glow on the streets. Thank you for the company, sir, Jimin said, standing at his doorstep. Yoongi's eyes held a warmth that transcended his usual stoicism. Any time, Jimin. You make the chaos a little more bearable. And as Yoongi turned to leave, Jimin couldn't resist. You know, sir, if you ever need a break from the chaos, my sanctuary is always open. Yoongi's lips quirked into a half-smile. I might take you up on that offer, Jimin. Their eyes locked for a moment, the unspoken understanding between them growing into something that went beyond the boundaries of their worlds. As the weeks passed, their banter evolved into something more. Yoongi would playfully steal Jimin's pen while he took orders, and Jimin would retaliate by adding an extra shot of espresso to Yoongi's Americano. Their exchanges became a dance of words, a delicate balance of flirtation and resistance. One evening, as Jimin handed over Yoongi's cappuccino, he noticed a subtle change in Yoongi's demeanor. The teasing glint in his eyes softened, and he spoke with an unusual sincerity. Jimin, do you believe in fate? Jimin raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the sudden shift. Fate, sir. Yoongi nodded. Sometimes the universe conspires to bring two people together. What if this, us meeting like this, is fate? Jimin laughed, a light, melodious sound that echoed through the cafe. Fate, sir? I think you've been watching too many romantic movies. Yoongi smirked, a challenge in his gaze. Maybe, but what if I told you I'm willing to test fate? Jimin's heart skipped a beat, and he retorted, And how would you propose we do that, sir? Yoongi leaned in, his lips dangerously close to Jimin's ear. Dinner. Tomorrow night. My place. Jimin feigned a thoughtful expression. Dinner at the Mafia King's lair? That's a bold move, sir. Yoongi's eyes sparkled with amusement. Bold moves are my specialty, baby boy. You'll see. As the evening drew to a close, Yoongi left the cafe, leaving Jimin with a fluttering heart and a promise of a dinner that felt like the beginning of something inevitable.